Hear ye, all thy heathens. Come on into the sanctuary. Smash that like button. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. You don't want to miss what we go live. Share the stream with somebody who you think would benefit from this topic. I might drop the link later if you'd like to hop on. What we discussing tonight? Should men pay all the bills? And also, why don't most men fight for custody? This is going to be an epic talk, y'all. I'll give y'all a few minutes to join and we're going to get started here shortly. Smash that like button. Let's get it going. Appreciate you for tuning in.
Yo, call me Driscoll, aka Jesus Peace. Spitting scriptures that's in red, making Jesus speak. If you get that through your head, what your demons seek, it's the blood that these vampires need to drink, that bring the dead back to life, make it seem discreet. Man, these lives getting touched, I redeem the streets. Hit you deeper than that crack that these fiends can't beat. It's the dawn of the dead, pouring key in the streets for the goons with AKs, ARs, strapped up like they made for war. I speak for those with no voices, while my words cut like a ninja sword. So much spirit up on each verse that you ain't gotta go to church just to hear the Lord. Make your soul rain at the inner core. It's the blood game that we living for. Make you hold your pain or you sin no more. What we out here trying to be bitter for? To reflect the pain from the inner war. That's the bigger war. Please forgive us, Lord. Let's party, get turned, and don't let haters stop your thunder. Tell your DJ that Driscoll got the club locked this summer. What's up?
Again, we welcome you out to the Church of Heathens. I appreciate you for joining me in this sanctuary for this wonderful topic. You know, we always diving into uncomfortable territory. We want to touch on the things that you can't touch on in the workplace and that oftentimes you can't even touch on in the church. We're going to touch on it right here amongst the heathens. But before we do that, let me welcome up my panel for the day. First, we got the official pastor of the Church of Heathens, my boy Smitty, host of the show About Nothing. If you have not seen it yet, make sure you check it out. Without further ado, bro Smitty, talk to the people.
What it do? What it do? Smitty, past the heathen.
Absolutely.
Local neighborhood libertarian, yo. Glad to be here. As always. Let's get to it.
Facts. Pleasure having you again, my friend. And also joining us today, I got another brother who goes by the name of Brother Heathen to us. We all may know him as Kel. He coming to add his 2 cents to this wonderful conversation. So I appreciate him for taking the time out today. He is a very busy man, but he saw value in this conversation. So without further ado, let me get him up here on the panel. Kel, aka Brother Heathen. What's good, man?
What's good, Bishop? I mean, Brother Kel back on the panel again here. I mean, we're just ready to get into it here. Like I said, it's been a long day itself here, but we're ready to get into some discussion that's needed. So let's get it.
Absolutely. Let's get it done. So you inspired this conversation initially, Kel. At least the first half of the discussion. You sent us a dope little clip that I want to get into to kind of start this off because it's going to really take us into the direction we're going to go from there. I don't really know who the clip is by, to be fair. But anyway, let's get this clip started off.
And I won't pay your rent because rent is your duty. I could spoil you, buy you gift. That's it. That's different. But I won't pay your rent.
Why are you not paying my rent?
I can't.
Why?
Why am I doing? I don't understand. I'm going to wake up.
You're taking responsibility of your girlfriend.
No, you're not my responsibility. My daughter is. Your father should be taking care of you.
What if she doesn't have a father?
Then her mom should do that.
And then her mom passed away.
Uncle.
Then they're useless. They're drunkards.
Get a job. Understand? I won't pay.
Get a job. He closes it out with Kel. I'm gonna let you lead us off with your thoughts on this video since you're the one that inspired this discussion.
So as you see in the caption at the bottom when it said "get a job," I felt that. I felt every bit of that itself here because I mean we're in a day to day where women have fought for the rights to be equal itself here. So until you're married, you're single. So we're in the dating phase, but you're still responsible for you until that point itself here. Now, if I feel strong enough to give you that ring and give you that marriage, all right, we're going there. We're going to take some precautions and things like that itself here. But until that point, you are responsible for you to pay your rent, not in the girlfriend stage. All this stuff, pay this, pay that, pay these bills and all that. No, I'm not with that. And the fact that he even had to say get a job, it's like, come on, not in today's age. You should already have that training under your belt.
What's your thoughts, Smitty?
I have conflicting ideas about it. I think that you should practice somewhat uh, what you should expect in marriage while you're working things out. But I don't know if paying somebody's rent is the equivalent to that. You know what I mean? But girlfriend stage, I'm most definitely. If I was a single dude, I'm not about to hop out of my way to pay your rent. That's not my first priority.
Yeah. I think most men would agree. Um, the audacity of her to even expect it is just wild to me. I wish I could hear more of the conversation. Um, I'm 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 one of a handful of men nowadays that believe the man should be the sole provider, but that's from the context of a marriage. And let me correct that, not sole provider, but he should be the provider in the sense that he is not leaning on or looking to his woman for survival to pay the bills. I think that is the ideal way to run a home. But there's so many things to break down in this video that both of y'all really touched on ahead of me before I could even get to it. For one, why do we want so much marriage benefit without actually getting married? Two, what kind of man runs around paying the rent of every woman he dates in his life?
That's the question.
I really challenge I really want to know that has she really actually received that before, or is she just throwing out a wild complaint from the hip just to see who she gonna catch on that hook? Because I just don't believe it. I don't believe nobody's paid her rent. And if so,
Which is
maybe
why she's having an argument, though. That's why she's
yeah.
having an argument, because nobody's done it. It's an expectation. Who knows where she came from or whatever, but we know all men are dogs. Don't you ever depend on no man. And then when they get older, they say dependent shit like, hey, if you want to be with me, I need to be wined and dined every night. I need you to pay my rent. Hey, this light bill due. If you want to talk to me, then pay my phone bill.
And I love what dude said, because he said, at the end of the day, that's your father's job. Boy, I could have fell out the chair right there, because he's right.
Yes.
He's absolutely right. It is your father's job to take care of you until you're married. Not your boyfriend. But what if she don't have a father? Then that's unfortunate that your parents dropped the ball, but that doesn't make it my problem. Now, like Kel said, if I'm just really into you and I like what is going on and I want to pay your rent, that's my prerogative. But you can't mandate that as an expectation to somebody and think that's about to fly well. When with most men, that's just not that's not how it's gonna work.
Now with the hookup scene being quite prevalent, let's just say hypothetically, I spent a bunch of time at your house and I was at your house more than I was probably at mine. I'd be inclined to help you with rent. I wouldn't pay the bill as though it was my apartment.
Right. Sure. I mean, if I just want to keep this thing we got going, it's like, hey, I do what I can, but still, like you said, that's your prerogative. That's you, like, hey, I don't mind because I'm rocking with you. And that's the thing. Like, sometimes if you just add the right value, you wouldn't have to fight for certain stuff.
That's a
You're
fact.
trying to mandate something that you probably could get if you just moved right. But I think still for me, I don't know. It's a little different because I feel like as a single guy, have your own place. And if she kicking it with you, then she can kick it in my roof. We ain't worried about paying your rent. I got my spot. Come through. You know what I mean? Be here. And I still think you should maintain the leverage of having your own space to where you can kick her ass out.
Bingo.
But me shelling out to pay your rent, that doesn't give me any sense of security. I could pay your rent and you ghost me tomorrow. I don't think that's just not realistic of an expectation.
Plus, rent is like one of the largest bills you're going to pay in a month. That's the largest bill that possibly anybody has. Like, unless you got a crummy apartment and bought a Tesla. But I mean, even in like substandard areas, like on the East Coast, like a rent for a 1 bedroom is what, like $1,200, $1,300
all day long.
Yeah.
All day long, man. So yeah,
you
that's
shelling out $1,300 for somebody who might be sexually active with somebody else besides
it.
you.
Or
Yeah.
listen,
Come on.
that's
Yeah.
the clip of the day.
Come on.
First of all, let's go there. Let's go ahead and give some free game. If you really wanted your rent paid, put yourself in a predicament to where I ain't gotta wonder about you. Cause listen, point blank, period, ain't no man gonna feel good about paying nothing for a woman somebody else hitting.
Exactly.
They want to be able to keep the freedom, the control, the luxury of being able to say, I move how I move, I'm the boss B, and then niggas pay my rent. And don't get me wrong, there might be dudes out here that don't got no pride. They got money to throw away, and they'll do it because it ain't tricking if you got it. You know the whole saying. They'll do it because they like, hey, that's keeping me in there. She can have her boyfriend. They can do what they do. I spend the money to keep the access. There's dudes like that. But those usually ain't the dudes that they're never going to marry you. They're never going to even consider you for marriage if we all the way real. And most of the time, those types of situations don't really last. So why would you even put yourself in it?
Yeah, it's most definitely not it's not a fair trade.
Yeah,
Rent for
from the men who may actually you want marriage minded men to also live to the standard of the dudes you used to trick with.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's the I mean, you put it out there, yo. Mess with a man that has standards of living by himself, and then you don't have to worry about rent. Try to move in with that nigga.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it for me. I mean, married or single, I ain't never had the thought of paying somebody's rent. That's absurd. But then again, I've never had excess residual income to where I could do that and sleep at night. So
Right.
that's also a big factor, just to be all the way fair. You know, like I said, to the dudes that can just do that and not even feel it, I can see where the value may be there for them. But
Don't say it around me. Don't even think it around me. It ain't happening.
but at the same time, I've never also, you know, I never expected a woman that's like mine to be responsible for any major bills either. So that's what I'm saying. It's like if you can, there's a balance to it.
Yeah.
If you got your own spot, like the conversation came up recently. Somebody asked me about when a man is ready for marriage, you know, because you got the crew out here that's like, well, men don't really come into themselves to their mid 30s, going into their 40s. That's when you usually starting to get financially stable, da da da. And I'm a proponent for marrying young. So I can see where that's a conflict for most. But at the same time, a young woman can marry an older man. That's not odd. Even men, I don't like the idea there that only a small handful of men are worthy of marriage. In my personal opinion, as long as he got his own place to live, and he's taking care of himself, he's ready for marriage. I don't care if it's a 1-bedroom apartment. If he already got it and he paying the bills, she can move in. Like, we got to stop boxing dudes out of marriage until they reach the top 10% when most men ain't going to get there.
Yeah.
But you know, that's the flip side of the argument, though.
What's that?
Because she has to be willing to go into that situation.
Oh, great point, Kel. Let's go there. Break it down. What do you mean by that?
Because to your point, the man has his own, the man's taking care of himself, paying all his bills in his home. He's ready.
He ready.
Is she ready to go into that lifestyle?
Is she ready to go into that lifestyle? Okay. I
Is
think
she?
for most women, probably not.
Probably not, because
Nowadays. Yeah.
they have their own ideal of what they want out of marriage already, and for what that man may already have, it may not match with what she wants.
Yeah.
So now that's how you get axed out and only look at the 10 top percent itself here. So that's why I said, yeah, we all can be ready for marriage, but the ideal of it is far from likely itself here. So
I don't get that though. So
yeah.
I mean, are you saying that you just don't see men who aren't top tier getting married?
No, so the problem that I see, the way that we as men see marriage is totally different from how a lot of women, especially modern women, see marriage today. So because their ideal of marriage is based off of them and not what the man actually is or what a man actually wants and how a man is prepared.
Mm.
So what we're prepared for, how to handle it, especially when we're talking about money and the lifestyle, because on average, most men are making anywhere from 40 to 50,000 on average itself here. And then the numbers go in any other extreme, depending on any single man that you're going to talk to or that you're going to meet itself here. So they're mostly looking at the money aspect of it. Can 40 or 50,000 a year provide me the lifestyle that I want?
Right. There you go. The lifestyle that I want, not the lifestyle I need.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's why I say, is she prepared to come in there? Because
Right.
now she has to be in agreement. Therefore, submission to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And willingness to live a lifestyle according to what they can afford.
Or right,
That's so true.
right,
And that's why I think it's better to marry young, because I feel like before a woman goes out and experiences her own independence and what she built, she's more inclined to do that, to accept the life the man can give her. And especially if he still caught her at a time where he's able to give her her first experiences in life. You know, they take a road trip, and this is like her first time seeing something. You know, that man can still be something she looks up to in a sense, because she never did the girls trips to Jamaica and all of the stuff that come with the independent woman lifestyle. Once a woman's done that, it's going to be hard for many men to be able to get that out of her.
right. And that's where the eyes turn to the top 10 because I've already done this. What can you do besides what I've already done that make me say, wow? Because you know, most women, ooh, shiny.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I think I'm such an advocate for marrying young. I think being independent for any extended period of time damages a woman's ability to see the value in marriage to most men. It
I mean,
robs men of that ability to give them the experience of exposing you to your first, to showing you life, to grooming you under my covering and cultivating you in the way that I need my helpmate to be. They're going to come with their idea of what they should be for you.
but desires are promoted all over everything. So I mean, if you have access to the internet, your desires can change like that.
Explain what you mean if you can.
Uh, well, I got married really young, and the thing about getting married young is you're not entirely who you're going to be yet. So you're going to grow up, and hopefully, people don't have to go through what I went through, but you grow apart a little bit, and then you come. If Lord's willing, then you gel it back together, and it don't always happen like that because you're young, you're a tad bit immature, uh, and you haven't experienced anything. So anything that looks appealing to you, you're like, well, let me try this out. Let's see if it helps. And sometimes what a woman finds intriguing may be helpful to the marriage. Sometimes it could be bad for the marriage. It depends on how easily impressionable she is.
I agree. That happens a lot. Um, but I don't necessarily agree that that is a detraction from this argument, particularly because I think the same thing could happen if you get married at 30. She could have a midlife crisis in her 50s.
That's a fact.
Yes, you know, I just,
I
I think,
mean, I'm
go ahead.
not trying to simplify it down to like one group of people. The same is true at all
That's
ages
just
of
human
life.
nature. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that's just the unfortunate reality with life, though. Life is a gamble.
yeah,
You make choices, and there's no way for anybody walking into a marriage to see the future and know there's a guarantee nothing bad will happen. That's not, and I think so many people wait for marriage because of that.
yeah,
And there's no way to have that certainty. Somebody, like you said, can completely change 10 years down the road and you ain't see no markers. And
yeah.
then a lot of times, if we're honest, we do ignore certain signs too. But
That's a
that's
fact.
a whole nother thing.
I mean, that should be the guarantee is that you don't know what's going to happen.
Yes.
So it should make you that much more hungrier to always continue to work in the marriage itself here. Not only keep each other engaged, but keep each other attracted, you know.
Mm,
But
that's
you
big.
still just don't know. Things are going to happen. You're going to have situations you're going to have to deal with together. And it's going to stand the test of time. Either you're going to grow stronger together or you're going to drift all the way apart, and you're going to have to deal with it either way. Just include God, make sure it's there. Whatever happens. It's,
Yeah, you're right. And I love the part about keeping each other attracted because, especially for young marriages, I think that's a big thing that a lot of young girls may not be taught, and for a lot of young women, being attractive is not something they really think they need to put effort into. There's a difference between the attention you'll get walking outside from a random man and same man who's seen you every day for 6 years.
Right.
You got to put a little more effort into that.
right.
And girls will always say, man, I went out with my sweatpants and my hair in a bun and still got hollered at. Cool, because men want to have sex. They're going to do that. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that meant you looked any more attractive than anybody else, though. It meant they saw something sexable. So for the sake of marriage, like there is some level of work that has to be done into that area. Off the beaten path, thank you for joining, ma'am. She said, I agree. People are married for 20 years and get divorced. People marry after 3 months of knowing each other and stay married. Exactly.
Yep.
Um, man, and that used to be a big fear for me too. So you just don't know. Like I've seen in my own family how many marriages it's like once the kids grow up, we done fooling each other. Let's divorce. And I just can't imagine. I don't know. Like you said, we change. You don't know how you feel then. Maybe at that point, they both are okay with it. But as a man, I just feel like that has to feel. I don't even know the word for it, man.
I mean, to that degree, if after the kids are gone and you want to get a divorce at that point, I think the man has already come to the summation or the realization that, hey man, if they've tried to put in the work, because there's like ain't no way that if you ain't tried to get it to work after 20 years per se, or after the kids is gone, it's gonna give you what at least 18 years, just one kid. If you ain't tried to work on it or whatnot, they probably knew well into it, like maybe year 10, 15, possibly, this ain't gonna work out. Let's see our kids off and go from there.
But I'm gonna challenge you a little bit with a little pushback because I think one thing that I notice happens sometimes, and I ain't saying this is everything that happens. I don't know the inner working of anyone's marriage, but sometimes, especially if you marry young, let's say the woman was 22 when they got married, and he was 26. Just throwing numbers out there. 20 years later, they're 42 and 46. That means for 20 years straight, she gave her youth to this man. She's reached this place where she might have, had some kids come and go, whatever.
Mhm.
And now she trying to get fit again. She's noticing she's still getting attention, and maybe mentally things have changed in the relationship.
Mhm.
Um, I think sometimes just that curiosity of wondering what could have been. I think sometimes feeling like you could do better elsewhere because you get used to your man and you forget all of, because we're talking from the perspective that typically it is the women who leave the marriage. We know that statistically.
Right.
Um, and sometimes you just don't appreciate who he is day to day. You'll forget the things he's done over the 20 years when the last 2 years have been arguments.
That too.
So I think sometimes it could just be like the foolish mistake of thinking the grass is going to be greener. Then they get out here and realize, oh, I was just sex.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to marry my old ass right now. But they would think that they're going to leave this situation and meet Prince Charming when they close to 50. And
Exactly.
then worst case scenario, if they don't, they're going to get half of everything. They're going to be able to live without him, off of him still. So what's the reason to really sit here and go through the growing pains of marriage anymore?
Yeah. Um, I push back with this because a lot of couples that I talk to, and I'm sure you probably heard it, most of them, especially coming from the man side, you hear from a lot of the women. My husband or my wife is probably more beautiful or more realer than ever now. We've gone so much closer together because we put in the work itself here, And just my opinion, marriage is a work every single day,
Facts.
So you got to be doing something. And I do failed relationships that I've had, you know, I haven't been the best person.
Mhm.
I've stayed stagnant, therefore going backwards because time don't stay still. You can't stay still. Time is going to pass you. There's always going to be an update itself here. There's younger people that's coming up doing things, the same thing that you're doing or doing it better than you are. That inspired me to get back into working out, getting my body right, eating healthy, getting everything checked out itself here. Because I'm not the man that I thought I was self here. So, you got to take ownership into some of the things that people are doing. Now, you don't take full ownership because a lot of that is they took the curiosity itself here, but did you feed them some of that curiosity? I push back.
Now that's good. That's good. Go a little deeper. What do you mean by feed them that curiosity?
So at 42, she think I can get back out in these streets. Why does she think she can get back out in the streets? She's been married 20 years to the same person, going through the same rigmarole. Is she tired of the rigmarole because it's so mundane? It's repeatable itself here. She knows what to expect. You know, Sometimes you got to throw a little monkey wrench in the system itself here and have her say, "Oh, okay, that's new."
I
You know,
like that. I like
see,
that.
see if it engages her. Some what worked 20 years ago, what worked 10 years ago, may not work now. To me,
Mm.
that shows are you really paying attention? Have
I
you
like
noticed,
that, Gil. I like
have
that.
you noticed some things that hey, she moving a little different? Let me try some of this. Let's do this. One thing I learned about some of my relationships is that you gotta be a little spontaneous a couple of times. It's been a baseline of some of my exes. You gotta be a little spontaneous sometimes. Itself here. You know, she been moping around the house or something like that. Let's do a weekend getaway, something like that.
I
Do it
definitely feel that.
do it
Because
like
as men, we can get comfortable and be like, yo, for 20 years this worked. Why you changing now?
why are you changing now?
Yeah.
You know?
And I don't like change.
Yes.
Uh off the beaten path that I think, Your marriage has to be built on more than your feelings because feelings will always change and you will grow. And if it's built on feelings, it will crumble. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No argument there. I think that's a huge issue, man. It's too much about how we feel. Even in these like marriage groups and stuff that I be seeing on Facebook, it's always somebody posting about how they feel and ready to lead a marriage. And it blows my mind how many women in there supposed to be a group full of married folk telling her, girl, go on and leave him. Ain't nobody got time for that. You should. And I'm like, dang,
Mhm.
you're not even gonna try to teach them how to fight for their marriage. Not even gonna give them any tips. I could save it, jump straight to leave the man.
Mhm.
It's always
I
poison
think
in
when
the
you're on
well,
when
bro.
you're on a commitment, facts. Commitment over when you don't feel it anymore. You stay because divorce is not an option. If
Yes.
divorce isn't an option, there's
Nothing
work
else to
hard.
do but work
I
hard.
love that because this kills the whole argument. Yeah, this kills the argument of people who say we ain't married, but we basically married. It's just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
That's not true
That's true.
because you can never take the mindset that divorce is not an option until you're married. As long as you know I can walk away and there's no difficulty, there's no obstacle we got to face, I can just pack my bag and step out the door. You're never going to know what it's like to be in a marital commitment.
Yeah, because a good question to follow up with after that would be like, if they were to obliterate divorce, you can no longer divorce. How many people would get married, you think?
I literally had this thought the other day and it terrified me, bro.
Mhm.
I don't think we would see very many marriages at all.
Mhm.
If
But that's
divorce
the
became
thing.
illegal and the only thing you could do is wait till they die, we probably even see more murders or missing people numbers going up.
But that's why the rate at failing marriages is so high because people aren't all the way in. They're in there with their foot in the door. They're not all the way in the marriage. And then you're like, well, why are you upset? Well, I had these expectations and these expectations. And it's like, yo, we can figure that out. Let's figure it out. Let's talk about it.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
But that's why it
Like,
scares me because of the commitment itself. Here, the commitment scares me because, like you said, Smitty, you got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You can't be straddling the fence. You got to make a decision itself here,
can't be in
and
no lukewarm marriage, bro.
no
Can't be in
sir,
no lukewarm marriage.
I
no
think
sir.
I think I think you just hit on the most important thing of the day, Smitty. I think if most people are honest, most people who have major problems in their marriage, one of the two parties is 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And when you get down to the issues in the discussion, you start to hear it. When they arguing about things like my money, they do this with their money, but my money do this. You 1 foot in and 1 foot out. When you start hearing things like I don't want to have sex with them because they ain't do this right. You 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You okay if it goes wrong when you thinking like that. And I'm realizing that it's very easy to go into marriage half-heartedly in America. And I'm saying that from experience because honestly, when I went into my first marriage, I went in with the mental headspace saying that I'm probably going to divorce in a few years down the road anyway. I never genuinely planned for it to be a lifelong thing. It was just something to do. And that's me coming from divorce, me understanding that I didn't grow up in a house with two parents there. You know what I mean? Like the idea of marrying and leaving a marriage was not cherished to me.
well, I didn't
That's
grow up with the ideal factors of what getting married truly meant. I figured it out while I was married. You know what I mean? And now I share those values with my children. I'm like, this is why I got married, and this is what you do when you are married.
Mm-hmm.
The importance of marriage uh has been shrunken down to what you said earlier. It's just a sheet of paper to people.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, you could just rip that piece of paper apart and go on about your business.
Yep.
And so many people are worried about their happiness that when there's kids involved, that the kid is completely pushed aside and their happiness is in the forefront. Like, hey, first class
Lady,
trip to Jamaica, mama watch my baby.
listen, you ain't never lied, bro. You ain't never lied. And there's the flip side to that. There's also the kids come first before the marriage, and the kids become a dividing factor in the marriage sometimes. There's also the I don't like how you parenting them, and you should do it this way. That becomes a fight for a lot of people. Like I talked to a brother recently whose wife, I guess whatever background she came from, she does not believe in sternly disciplining kids. And
Mhm.
she'll tell him stuff like, don't raise your voice at her. I can't do that. I'm not doing that. You're not about to tell me in front of my daughter how to parent her.
That's
And
some stuff that you should know before you put a baby in somebody though.
yeah,
Yeah.
How do you well, even that I mean still have the conversation, but I mean, people have their mask on at the beginning of relationships, but still you should ask people. A little bit of truth is better than none.
true that. I think most of us just don't really think to go there. Most of the questions that you should be asking people before marriage, I think most people don't.
No. Yeah.
Because there might also be the aspect that most people are afraid to mess it up. Sometimes you don't want to hear the answer. Everything going well, and this might be a deal breaker.
Unfortunately, though, a lot of people get married off of feelings. That's just I think that's a majority of marriages. And what ends up happening is you get a bond with that person, and that bond that you have with that person just grows. It either grows or it breaks apart.
But sometimes that bond is not built on solid ground either.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Because you're building it on feelings, and feelings can go, they can travel whichever way that wind comes. And when that
Yeah.
wind changes and go the opposite direction, there you go.
And
A lot of people have. Go ahead.
that's where terms like happy wife, happy life come from.
Yep.
Where it becomes the man's mission to cater to feelings 24/7.
Yeah. And then
Because
you end up seeing it
society
later.
has given women the excuse to be a nightmare when they don't feel good.
Yeah. And you see it later because it's like people have different religious proclivities. So just because this dude is making you feel good doesn't necessarily mean he's going to raise a child in the way that you think a child should be raised. It's
So
like, yeah, for real. It's like you married this Muslim dude, and now you wondering why your son is at mosque instead of the church,
come on.
or same vice versa. But I mean, still,
I mean, do you want a man leading your home, fathering your children, whose sole purpose in life is to make everybody feel good? Where's the structure in that? Your child's gonna be a problem.
Mhm.
Those be those spoiled, bratty, privileged kids that grow up demanding everything in life from everybody.
because I
I just
mean,
think
even go
go ahead.
ahead.
Nah,
Oh,
go ahead.
well, I was gonna say, even in terms of what we're speaking on, it's like say you're dating, and I think we've gone over this possibly before, but old girl is like, well, before we go out, I need you to pick my kids up some McDonald's. Like what? I need you to feed my kids.
Ain't
Like,
no way.
like no, no.
Ain't no
I only
way.
got roof Chris money, and that's for you. I ain't bringing shit. I ain't bringing shit back home for them kids, yo.
I got Rufus money, but we ain't going there.
Right.
Yo,
Hey,
I ain't
we
got
about
no
to
McDonald's after roof Chris money. Oh man,
let's
that's
slide
that
into
that.
this. Unless y'all had something else on that.
So when you say should men pay all the bills? In regards to husbands, I would agree with it slightly, but like looking at stats, most upper middle class households are it's two working individuals in the house.
Right.
But they're still married and they're still raising children together. But
Yeah.
I most definitely agree with what you do because it's honorable in my eyes.
Well, I understand your point. You made an check. Okay, I thought it was an echo. You made a good point because by no means am I saying see there's so many factors to this. So no means am I saying the woman who says I want a career and I do not want to be at home, I want my own, should absolutely be contributing, in my opinion, because you're not getting the value of a present wife. And 9 times out of 10, when she comes home after that, you're not going to get much of the value of a present wife even after work. And then you're going to have to share bills, share household duties, share who does the most caring for the kids. All of that's going to be shared. So if we sharing everything else, then yeah, we can share the bills. But my point was that I just personally don't believe it's best for a man to expect or demand her go out here to do that. I think you get the best benefit out of a wife when she's able to be home and take care of the kids and take care of the home and be there for you when you get there. If it depended on what you want out of a wife. Now, like I said, if it's one of them things where it's like that's just not what she values, she doesn't want that, then what the heck would I pay all the bills for if I'm not getting that?
Right.
Some people don't want the best, and that's just real. And that's not bad. That's okay. If that's just where you're at. Some people are like, I don't care if she says I don't want to have sex today. For
Mhm.
me, that's an irreplaceable value. I'm not willing to have that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not saying that you can never just not want, you can be sick. You know what I mean? There are things that happen. But to be giving your best day, the best version of you to your job, and then I get the leftovers of whatever else you would like to give, that's not the best recipe for healthy marriage to me.
Yeah, I appreciate you for unpeeling that onion. I
Yeah.
think I think anybody who listens to that and doesn't understand your point of view after you unpeeling that just doesn't
Yeah.
want to understand.
I mean,
So
it has to be unpeeled because I have to acknowledge that there is a large percentage of women that don't want to be a housewife. So if you're choosing a career path, then why are you choosing it if I don't get access to it? That's of no benefit to me to marry you then.
right,
If you're gonna be
like
out there making that bread, bring it into this house then.
like me personally, I would never want to put my wife out into the workforce, like working a 9 to 5. But with what she does now, I'm like, okay, that's cool with me.
I mean, but she's
Just
still a housewife. She runs a business from home.
yeah, and,
That's
and, and that's
I
cool.
mean, that's the perfect scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And nobody's saying that, nobody's saying that even in that situation, when she make money, that don't contribute to the home in some way. You're damn right it do. The only
right.
thing I'm saying is, as the man, I don't want to ever be in a position, especially for a length of time, where if whatever she do ain't available, we ain't gonna have a place to live. That's
Got
the
you.
main thing I'm saying. Yeah. I should be able to take care of what needs to be taken care of as if she didn't exist, just for the safety and protection of the family. Now, anything she's at, and that's a blessing. Great.
Yes.
That's
You won't get a argument out of me
yeah.
about that.
Yeah.
That's one is it's admirable for a woman to even be that, and then I believe it's admirable for a man to even be that, because I think a lot of men have the idea, get a job, go get a job, so that way we can build this up. Everybody, what's the word that everybody was using during COVID? Power couples.
Power
Is that
couple,
it?
yeah.
Yeah, everybody want to be a power couple. Two people
And
working at GM, and it would break my heart, bro. Like me getting no makeup on wife every day at
bro,
home, and then she getting dressed up and looking pretty on her way out the door every day. Like, yo,
oh, that would be problematic for me.
Yes.
That would be, but that's what niggas out here getting, little. Let's not act like that's not happening.
Oh yeah, it's a
yeah,
real thing.
for sure it is. For sure it is.
You see the
Sure it
best
is.
of her, the wife you forgot she is every time she's stepping out the house. Then when she come home, it'll all come off. She's straight to the shower. Put the robe or the pajamas on, the big furry slippers, and the bandana to tie her hair up. And now it's time to spend time with you, babe. Hurry up now before I get sleepy. I gotta be to
Right.
work at 6 a.m. tomorrow.
And then wake up and look pretty as ever to go be around a bunch of other niggas. Like, what the hell is going on here?
Bruh.
Facts, bro. Especially, and that's even worse if y'all got kids. And she got to come home and deal with them kids, bro.
Yeah.
You could chalk that. You could chalk that.
Yeah.
So that's the important caveat in that. I'm glad you made me peel that onion, because people get lost in that, like it's a shot at men, and the intention is not to be a shot at men. The intention is to help men. It's like, hey, because this is what I noticed has been happening lately that's caught me off guard. When my wife got into the YouTube spaces, I would see men act like she's an anomaly, and they're like, man, where did you find her? And I'm like, well, when I found her, you wouldn't have wanted her. You wouldn't have seen her that way. This is what she developed into. You know what I mean? And that's the part that you lose. And they like, nah, we out. They don't want to have to face the reality of what we can do to create the best situations. And I'm like, a major one is not sending her out there every day. That is not good. Like, there's no way you can, not no way. It can happen. There are some women that are spectacular at doing everything. But the common woman cannot take on the world's pressure and come home and be everything you want her to be in the crib.
She wasn't designed for it.
That's a lot to put on a female, man. And as a man, I can't do that. When I come home, I'm beat. If she won't here to take care of the kids, my kids would damn near be neglected.
I get what you're saying. It's kind of like, bro, don't ever complain about time if you're not investing the money into the thing that will give you the time that is necessary. I most definitely get it.
You just broke that down way better than I did. Thank you. That's it. There are certain checks and balances, man. And like I said, some men are okay with the balance being on the other end. They like, hey, I just want to be able to post pictures of us on trips and have 2 nice cars. And some people value the flex, and they like, in order to do that, I have to have her income. So I take the arguments. I take that she got a little extra lip, that she might embarrass me in front of my friends or not make my plate. Cool. As long as we show up with the trip.
What that?
At least we show up with the drip.
Well, damn,
That is
dripping the trips.
that is the exact wrong way to like look at that, yo. Just like it don't matter what type of designer you have on if you come up to the barbecue or whatever function looking like a joke. Like I saw somebody hop out of a Grand Prix with a Gucci belt on before. I was like, yo, my man's.
Bro, it's readily available.
Yo. Family values, welcome to the conversation. Said they hate hearing that you trained me into the wife I am. Me men be like, why I got a trainer? Exactly. And this is something I know for a fact from years of being around Smitty, that his wife has molded herself to him and who he needs her to be as a woman. That is not something you're going to avoid. You are going to have to go through the hiccups of training your wife.
Yes.
Most men will not walk you to a marriage that is absent of issues, especially in the black community when these bras ain't had no daddy and they don't know what it means to respect the man in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no way around it. Marry a woman from a great family, you got a better chance of not having to deal with certain things, but there's still some aspect of conforming her to your needs that will still be present. And the men that think those things ain't gonna exist, those are the men that are at happy hour complaining about their wives every evening. They ain't think they had to do nothing. Those are the men who get divorced and we start to talk and peel that onion, like Smitty like to say, and I get to hear the things that they were doing wrong. And I don't even say it to them. I just listen. And I start to hear the things that they didn't say, the things they didn't check, the things they thought that she should already know. Well, why should I have to say that? I'm like, yeah, I see why you divorced.
Yeah. And the reason I call it an onion is because onions have layers to them. You know what I mean? And a lot of people jump from one extreme like to the next, and then they don't even pay attention to the path that it took for you to get there.
Mm-hmm.
They don't pay attention to that valley that you had to go through.
Hey, bro,
Man.
want somebody's reward without the suffering that it took through the process. And that comes with everything success-wise. People will be jealous of the billionaire and not even know his story. Not even be willing to work the amount of hours. Those guys, from wake up to midnight, phones don't stop ringing. I'm reading one of Trump books right now, bro, and he's talking about how he would take 40 calls a day, minimum. Those were the light days. Nigga, if my phone ring 8 times, I'm mad. and people want these people's lives with no idea about their process, bro. And it's like, and that's what I've learned. I'm like, instead of envying other people, how about I pray for what God has for me? Because when I look into the people's lives that I envied and thought I valued, I realized I don't want that. I don't want to live the way they had to live to get that.
Mm-hmm. Jordan Peterson breaks that down in his rules for life. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. That's well put.
Beautifully put. I love it. Then we got, he says, I think men have to be bold and courageous enough to speak on what he wants and how he wants it. This is the message, man. This has to happen, gentlemen. We cannot be out here crying about what our women ain't do right when we didn't speak it to them.
I'm in complete agreement with that. I'm key on communication.
I'm so tired of hearing it, bro. I'm tired of hearing these men tell me what she ought to have known. If you don't want to be a leader, stop marrying people.
Yes.
Maybe that's the pocket of men out here that say they don't see the value in marriage. And if that's the case, I agree with you. I don't see the value in you being married either. But if you're willing to embrace the responsibility that comes with it, I would like to see every man married. I think, I think to see more black families, man, would be so empowering to the next generation. But we have to, like Kel said, take some accountability as well for where we're lacking in our leadership. We don't want to have to do nothing, bro.
Right.
And we want everything.
I mean, that was a big stepping stone for me, is learning that, hey, you got to be responsible for some of this stuff that's going on. You know, she might be doing some bad stuff, but you allowing it.
Exactly.
My dad gave me a very good lesson one day, because we were sitting in this truck, and I was struggling because I was paying the rent at 2 different places because I got evicted. And
Wait. Hold up.
yeah,
You got evicted and still was paying the rent?
I had to pay the eviction notice when we kicked out.
Hey, listen, this is an honorable man, ladies. You wonder where the good men at? Because that would have still been on my credit today, man.
Bruh.
This is the guy you supposed to be marrying.
Bruh, I was paying that joint.
Street nigga.
I was paying that joint. My pops had to get the joint for me because I had a woman at that time. So he had to get the joint for me. But he had to get the apartment. So I'm paying that joint, the back rent on that joint, and paying my other rent, the place that I'm staying at, bro.
Kel is a good man.
Bro.
I ain't seen a man this good yet.
So he finally told me, because situations just kept coming up, and I'm coming up short, stuff, and my dad's helping me out and stuff. And but finally he told me, he was like, stop being the victim. He kept telling me that for 2 straight years. And I was like, Dad, what do you mean? Because I'm tired of hearing that. He was like, when things go sideways, it is never your fault.
Mm.
And I looked at him sideways.
So
he was like, yeah. And he was like, well, this is what I mean by it. You're the master of your own plan. Either you did it or you allowed it to happen on your watch. So accept everything or accept your part of it and move on.
He made you into a man that day.
Bro, my whole life changed at that point.
Wow.
It changed because it altered my thinking. So now it's like, I don't want to be responsible for this. So let me go ahead and do something to make sure that I'm not in this if I don't want to be attached to it. If I'm going to be attached to it, I might as well take over the whole situation if I can, because that way I can own the situation.
Bro, that's so good, bro. Because as Black men, most of our brothers, if we honest, they struggle with that.
Yes.
I can't count the amount of brothers that I talk to, bro, in those type of situations. It'll be sucker ass landlord ain't work with us. And why he tripping about this little rent anyway? He got 18 other properties. And you find all kind of reasons to put it on everybody else's neck.
Everybody else.
Nigga, I ain't paid my rent. That's why I'm kicked out. That's the reason.
That's it.
Well, I lost a job. He should have been understood. It ain't his job to understand. We signed a contract.
Yep.
It's his job to get money for his property. And if I had a property that I'm renting out to him, I would expect the same. And if I choose to be gracious, that's my choice. But can't nobody be entitled to that.
Yes, sir.
James Clear said this in Atomic Habits. He said your present is just your past lagging behind you. So what you did in the past catches up to you in your present. So if you're in a bad situation, it's because of what you did in the past.
Yep.
I like that. That's gonna sit on me for a minute.
That's one of those things that kind of got me up to where I'm like, I don't feel like doing this, but I'm gonna go do it anyway.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't feel like showing up, but I'm gonna show up anyway.
Yeah. Because you can get in a bad cycle, man.
Yes.
Of thinking that it ain't gonna matter until you've racked up so many of those moments that you see and it matter right before your face, just like you said.
Oh no, it hits you when you actually try to go get the things that you need to get. Then all of a sudden, hey, oh, wow. Now you're sitting there scrambling, trying to put a plan together.
Yeah.
And it's already too late. Pretty much.
You just did what you were supposed to do along the way, you wouldn't be there.
Wouldn't be there. Yeah.
And then when you get there, you say, well, I'm here now. And you never want to make that first step to turn it around.
Exactly.
That's the worst part. When you like, I'm here, I might as well live here. Because it just, that was kind of me. I failed a couple classes in 9th grade. I think I failed one of them. Went ahead and failed one of them again next grade because I'm like, I'm mad. I got to take this open. By the third time failing classes, it's just like I done dug such a hole that I would have to go to summer school 2 times just to graduate in the summer. I'm out of here. And that's just my best version of what you're saying right now, where I've seen it play out since the beginning of my life. That's so real, man.
Just small habits that you change now because your future is your present lacking behind. So
you gotta make up your mind to just change it. Just wake up one day and say it's time.
It's time. Yeah, that's it.
That's really it. Just make the decision. It takes 28, 30 days to build a habit. You make you make that small decision. And some people don't realize is sometimes to get stuff done, it's getting up on time or getting out on time. Eat when you're supposed to eat, or something like that. Take those steps.
Shooting to the gas station at night instead of waiting until the morning. That's it for me right there.
That's huge. That's it for me. Because for me, I'd be like, man, I don't feel like stopping for no gas. And then you catch yourself doing it on the way to somewhere you got to be. When it's already traffic out there, you like, damn.
Yeah. And then you pull up in that gas station and that bad boy is filled to the max.
Yes. Learning how to obey that thought of what you need to do and disregarding the thought about what you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference between the successful people and the dreamers.
Yeah. That and failing. But that's not on par with the conversation. So
I mean, you there too. Elaborate a little bit.
So there's this dude, his last name is Huberman. I forget his first name. He's a neuroscientist or whatever. And it's actually proven like the more you fail, the more advanced your neural pathways get. So people who fail often and over and over and over and over again have a higher chance at being successful when a good opportunity comes.
Because they're not afraid to fail.
Yeah.
You just took us into our next topic. Why don't most men fight for custody? I believe because they're afraid to fail.
You about to play a clip first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold up. I mean, you can get your thoughts. Well, not because you're probably just gonna answer what the video gonna say.
He says, just be quiet for a minute.
Next level.
Y'all funny, man. All right, let's get this popping. All right, y'all can see it?
Yeah.
And this is something that's very counterintuitive. Guys, most divorce attorneys will tell men not to fight for their children.
Why?
Because most men, if they fight for their children, will not get their children. This is very complex, guys. So let me tell you something about a divorce case. Divorce cases most divorce cases are fairly cheap. relatively speaking. I mean, they could. It's not these Dr. Dre types of divorces, right?
Sure.
Most divorces you can get resolved for under 15 grand. You can. Um, there's one type of case that you can never get resolved for 15 grand. It is the most expensive type of case that a regular person is going to have. And when you talk about battles, those things can get easily 35, 50, 75, 115. Now, imagine you're a man and you've got four credit cards, and you come to me. Say, listen, I make $60,000 a year, but I want to fight for my two kids. And you're going to tell me the facts here. You got a little something, arguments, but it's going to be a real battle because the judges are biased against men. Put up the evidence. What are we going to have to put up? Well, we got to do discovery. That's going to cost you 5, 10, 15,000. We got to take her deposition. But then we also need to get, and we need to get some experts on the case. We need to get the psychiatrist. We need to get value. You got a little something. But if I had to say whether you're going to win or there are attorneys who will tell you, listen, pay me the 80,000, just put all on all your credit cards. Really going to try, and we're probably going to win. And what happens when you lose? They're going to look at you and say, well, we tried. We gave it the college try. Then they're going to take their 80 grand, that 80 grand you paid them, and they're going to fix their house and put their kids through a couple of semesters of college. Good attorneys don't do that. Good attorneys do the opposite. Good attorneys say, listen, what's going to happen when I start charging this 80 grand? You get up to 30 grand and you're going to come to me and tell me, you're going to say, Lee, I ain't got no money. What I'm going to do? I'm going to do Ruslan. I'm going to drop you as a fucking client because I don't work for free. So now I've got your 30 grand, but your trial isn't going to means you got to get another 30 grand. You got to get on another attorney's plan to pay for the case. So we attorneys tell you, listen, do not fight for custody if you cannot afford to do it. And a custody case is it's one of the most expensive cases that a man will ever have, and a normal man, not some NBA player or something like that. And so a lot of times it comes down to, man, and you never hear about the man who spends $75,000 and then they lose. Because what happens when they lose the $75,000? Now $1,000, and now guess what? They have to turn around and pay child support.
So we'll stop there and come back to it. You can go ahead.
Did you say something? Because
Were you able to hear me?
what did you say?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Check one, check.
You going in out and out a little bit.
Hold on. Check, check. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So I was saying that you can go ahead with your thought now.
You can go ahead and start it out. You got it.
Did it kind of throw you off now?
What? You can run your commentary first. I'll go after you.
So he made all of his points that it's, can be an obstacle for a man to go through a custody case, which I understand. but I'm still somewhat perplexed by it. Obviously, he's speaking from an attorney's perspective, which I fully respect. But I still am of the belief system that he's speaking about a handful of men. I know that complain about custody, not seeing their kids, things like that, ain't the type of brothers that's even going to speak to an attorney. They just straight up ain't doing nothing because they shouldn't have to. Conversation came about. You might see it brought up in the end. I forgot what the percentage was. The study came out that said that most men who actually go before a judge end up decision in custody court. And it brought on the conversation of, is the real issue that men just aren't showing due diligence. And I'm still of that belief system. I do believe that is the case. Now, am I saying that if most men would have custody of their children? Absolutely not. But the men who say that they don't even get to see their kids, I feel like they just didn't fight.
Um, yeah, when it comes down to not being able to see, like that's easily handled in court. But the thing that comes with that is you have to pay child support, which if you want to see your kids, that's something that you're probably going to have to pay. So there are brothers out here who duck and dodge. There are brothers out here who duck and dodge child support, but to I don't know. I couldn't put that as a majority of people on child support.
I can take that, but I think this might be another as to the maybe because it does make sense.
You keep
I think
going in
most
and out,
people are
bro.
erroneously of the belief. I have to leave and come back.
All right, that's cool. We could take a little break real quick because I want to hear
All
your
right, bet.
points. Mm-mm.
Oh,
Mm-mm.
sorry. No, but I
So how
mean,
did you how do you feel about that? Do you
I
feel like
mean,
most dudes aren't just showing they're just not showing up or
I feel most dudes are not showing up, man. Because I mean, he's only talking about specific cases that he's getting ran through him, you know, and because even like in the other clip that you sent in the chat itself here, like he said, like one of his favorite cases is when dudes are representing themselves, because he can go at them with a wife, and then he kind of breaks down, and I think we may get to that, but he kind of breaks down like certain points of how to get your kids, pretty much
Mhm.
itself here. So a lot of times it's like most dudes will look at that and be like, "Am I willing to go through this?" You know, but it's the ones who's willing to stand that test of time. They have a chance of getting them. But a lot of times too, the course is just unfair. They want to put the kids with the mother. A lot of times, it has to be hard, concrete evidence. Like, yo, they don't need to be there.
I think a part of that conversation, and it was a really, really small part of the conversation, there was that might get overshadowed. He said that judges have biases towards women.
Yep, yeah, they do. I mean, do you really think it's a bias, or do you think it's a systematic issue? And I'll expound upon that because of the money that comes with it. Because you think court fees is a lot.
Mhm.
So them court fees get divvied up. They get a certain percentage of them court fees. And so do you think they're biased because it's in their best interest sometimes to get paid and they can probably size people up and say, he ain't got a chance in hell.
I don't know. Like even outside of what like lead attorney said, I think that I think a lot of men have showed up to court cases. Maybe it's less as of late, but let's say the beginning of child support, like during the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, I think men were showing up to court and I think judges were biased. I think judges were giving the children to the women. I think they were ruling in favor of women. There's a reason because it's a cause and effect thing. So if men aren't showing up, why aren't men showing up? And I don't think it's just as simple as saying like all dudes is like all these men are scrubs and they simply don't want to show up.
Yeah, that was the other thing because I'm like, it ain't no way that all these men are not really showing up and stuff here. That can't be it. There's got to be other things that are going on and stuff here. Because I'm like, how can you not fight for your kids at least get visitation or something like that? But I mean, there's different things that happen here. You see what Driscoll put in.
Yeah.
All right. So was that our last topic, pretty much, or we got one more?
I'm not sure. He's a divorce lawyer, so he's thinking about men who were married. The men having children out of wedlock simply aren't fighting for their children, and they blame the system. I would want some numbers on that. Like, show me the stats. That's not something that I'm just going to like just take for a matter of fact. Like, all right, so dudes just aren't going to courtrooms to fight for their children because they're not married. In a lot of places or whatever, you can't go to court over it. Like in Georgia, if you have a child outside of wedlock, then you don't have any rights to that kid, but they'll still get child support from you. And I don't know how many other states are like that.
Wow. I gotta look that up. That's a liquid sword right there. Get you coming and going.
That's a matter of fact Georgia law.
Wow. Okay. But we ain't got no more topics. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Cause
Hold on. Is he saying he's not going to come back at all?
yeah, you say I might have to let you finish it out.
I mean, I've heard like I've been on the opposite spectrum of that family values to where cats would miss work to go to court and they would come back unhappy. Like I worked in the shop with these dudes. Baby lying.
Mm-hmm.
All of them, huh? All of them be lying.
Mm-hmm. I would still need some stats on it because I mean, I have noticed it over change here. A lot more men are fighting for their children. A lot more men are fighting for their children and so here. So I would definitely want to see some stats on it. I mean, of course, you're just gonna have boneheads out here. That's just they're gonna go ahead and create the children. Really didn't want anything to do with them, but didn't complain when the child support come and stuff here. But there's a lot more dudes fighting for their kids out here.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, if we're not gonna use like a judge bias at all for why men don't show up, because that would be the question. If men aren't showing up, why aren't they not? Why are they not showing up? That's what I wanted to talk to Driscoll about. But I wanted to see. I was before we shut everything down. I wanted to see if he could come back. There you go,
Check.
coming in clear, brother.
Okay, good. Man.
Did you hear any of the talking points?
Still look like it's freezing on my end.
We can hear you coming in clear though, and the YouTube is coming in clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. I'm not sure exactly what.
You said you're not sure exactly what. Go to court unrepresented. Are they paying for representation? Uh, if you're talking about people who aren't married, more than likely they're probably not paying for any type of representation. If you're talking about a married couple, though, more than likely, if the dude didn't have her sign a prenup or something like that, she's going to be able to pay for her legal fees via him, and he would also have to pay for his own legal fees. So he'd be paying somebody to fight against him, and then paying somebody to make sure he got his kid. They're not showing up because it's overwhelming. They rather not deal with it, I believe. They are ignorant to how things work and rather not deal with a judge, in my opinion. Okay. I mean, that's a well, I can't say that that's fair. That's I think that's a certain set of dudes. I think for you to like create this boundary to where it's a majority, I don't think a majority of dudes are doing that. I think a majority of the men that you hear complain might be doing that, might not be taking the proper course of action in order to get their children. But all in all, I don't think dudes are just like F them kids.
No, most of them.
And even if that is their mentality, it's kind of like you got to look at their family too. Like, thank God I wasn't that type of dude, but when my mother was here, if I was that type of guy, she would have helped my wife out at least. She's like, boy, them kids look just like you. Here goes some diapers or something. You know what I mean? She would try to make that dude go to court, and because she want to see her grandbaby. I think there's more pressure from families for men to go to court than anything else. I can understand a man who isn't married being intimidated by a court, but you should still show up.
Yeah. Showing up's half the battle. You just never know what happens.
Yeah,
You know, a lot of people that are not going to show up because they feel like, for one, they already feel defeated most of the time.
that's a fact.
You know, and I think too on the opposite side, some of them just don't want to deal with it.
Even if it was like a 60-40 thing or whatever, right? I, if 40% of men were doing that, man, that would be wild. But if we're specifying this down to the black community, then possibly I can understand that. Like the numbers being skewed a little bit if we break it down to a demographic of people. But all the way around the board, like white, Asian, Hispanic, black, I don't think that's going down like that.
Yeah, my position is definitely more towards the black community.
Okay. That's
Uh,
that's that's fair.
Good. And then too, we are the ones that have the most wedlock children. So I think the outcome of these cases definitely vary from people who were married versus people who just had Shanique was eighth baby and is her fourth baby father.
Yeah.
I think dudes be more inclined to try to run from that kind of responsibility than the child that they created in marriage with someone they were with.
That's understandable. Uh I can see the numbers being skewed if we break it down to a demographic. And then I can also see the numbers being skewed if we break it down to a separate demographic of unwedded people. But I don't know, bro. Like,
I think when it comes down to like not not being able to see your kid, for instance, like I said, if you had an accidental baby with somebody who was just a piece of ass, I think you're more inclined to not fight for custody because you don't really care to see that kid. I ain't saying that's every man, but I think a lot of men could see it that way.
Yeah.
Out of sight, out of mind. And then when the child support bill come, that's when all of a sudden they care that they don't get to see the kid.
yeah.
Well, you want me to pay for a child I don't see.
Yeah. But there are court orders like joint custody and like dude to get a girlfriend. And if dude gets a girlfriend, he's like, well, I don't know her. And so I'm not gonna drop my kid off over there. Type deal.
Right.
And then you got to take her to court again. Like, I mean, a judge can give you a judgment like, yo, you can see your kid, but that don't necessarily mean that the woman is gonna act right as well.
That's true. Then you got to file it for contempt, and that's a whole nother process. So I get it.
Yeah. It becomes a money pit after a while, but I mean, you just got to be upfront and be a better vet of who you dealing with.
I'll give Jazz a fair one though, right? When it comes down to people not showing up to court, I would give her this. I think more men don't take that paternity test and end up on child support than anything. Than a man knowing that that's his kid and just clearly not showing up.
Can you say that one more time? Because I think listen again.
When it comes down to people not showing up, when it comes down to people not taking that paternity test, I don't think people are showing up in large to take those paternity tests. Therefore, the ruling goes in the woman's favor because you didn't go take that paternity test. I think that is far more understanding than a man knowing that that's his child. He knows it's his child, but it's just like, well, since child support is involved now I don't want nothing to do with the kid.
Okay, I think I can agree with you.
I think that's a more fair way to look at it. Courtrooms are intimidating regardless, bro. But dudes tend to make it to court. They make it to court. If you got a speeding ticket, you'll go to court. You get blamed for a crime.
Not coming to court,
huh?
Right. That's why I think not coming to court to me is a reflection of you not giving a damn. You don't value it because you value your freedom. That's why you showed up for everything else. If it's a criminal case, you don't not come. But when it comes to this kid that you had with Shanika, you'll miss that case. I think a lot of times, and I think what we're saying is along the same line. I think a lot of those complaining ass men, if they're real, they only cared about visitation when they got the child support bill.
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't have to pay for that kid, they would never see it and speak of it again. It'd be like it never existed. Because most child support cases are coming within the first year or so of life. So that's usually something that you are hashing out early. Sometimes these men have never even seen because they don't know it's theirs, so they say. And then suddenly, once that bill comes, it's like, well, she don't even let me see the kid. And I'm like, nigga, that's what I'm saying. I think a lot of niggas just like, they use the system against me crap. as a counter to not liking their child support bill.
That's fair. I
When we're
think,
talking about kids out of wedlock, at least. Now, marriage, that's a whole different thing.
yeah, when it comes to taking that risk outside of marriage or whatever, I generally would think, though I wouldn't make this decision, then most of them guys be like, nigga, that ain't my kid. Because it's like, met her on the first night and smashed.
Exactly. Absolutely. They don't want it to be their kid. Who wants that?
Yeah. So I think more people are missing
You
that
hoping it
paternity
ain't you.
test. Yeah.
Why you think Maury ran up the check, man?
Yeah.
Like,
I think more.
bro, I ain't even want nobody to know I slept with her, much less having a human reminder for the rest of our life.
Yeah.
But the easiest way to avoid all of that is to just go take that doggone DNA test. And my
That's also
anecdotal
the easiest way
experience,
to prove that you know that bill.
yeah. But you're gonna owe it, irregardless as to whether you take it or not. If they
What
send
was you
you,
about to say?
huh? Oh, I said that you're gonna owe that money, irregardless as to whether you take that DNA test or not. If you pass it, I mean, if the baby not yours, then you ain't got to worry about it. If the kid is yours and you still, well, say the kid isn't yours and you don't go take that paternity test, then you're going to be charged to pay child support to that kid until you take a paternity test.
I mean, no, because here the reality of it, because in most states, if you sign that birth certificate, you on the hook. So regardless if you take that paternity test, so
Yeah, I'm saying if a female goes down to an attorney's office and she says that you are the father and you get legal notice to go take a paternity test and you don't go take that paternity test, you're still going to be court ordered to pay child support because you didn't go take the paternity test. And what a crazy time for Driscoll to have technical difficulties when we got into this. This was the point. This is what I wanted to debate about. I think we were in agreement on everything in the beginning. Just had to share different outlooks on it.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm talking over you because my thing is so delayed right now.
Well, I didn't hear you say anything while I was speaking. But male logic, but you have to be real. Unless the condom just breaks, dudes have to
Just
take
came in.
sleeping with the girl. Even if a baby was born out of it, just take the test. Hey, well, I'm telling you, go take the test. Go take the test.
Exactly. I'm with him 100%. This goes back to what we talked about before we got into this. What led into this? Just doing what the hell you supposed to do and stop putting it off. Don't sit there and wait until you 2 years now in back pay. That's gonna get snatched from you when you finally take the test. Or be able to have a victimized excuse that, well, I never took a test, so how do you know it's mine? When you know you ignored the letter.
right.
So you in the vein, Smitty and Mel, take the damn test. If it ain't yours, prove it. Get it done. But all this victimhood about the system, I just, like I said, in the black community, with the kids out of wedlock, that's already a sign of irresponsibility. You're not gonna tell me those same people are largely responsible when it comes to going to court and doing what they're supposed to do to prove themselves or whatever it takes to get their kids. I don't buy it. You made a kid in an irresponsible manner, you're probably gonna be irresponsible with your parent in some way.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I second that too.
Now, when it comes, like I said, to the married folks who divorced, That's different. Typically, those situations going to end up 50-50. You're going to have some large level of custody. It's very rare that people coming out of marriages and can't see their kids. I'm like, I just don't buy that as a norm. Now, as far as the man actually winning the custody and the kids staying in his house, that's not we can't argue that. The women win that in general. We know that. Nobody's gonna argue that reality.
Yeah.
Should they? Maybe not, but hey man, where everything ain't gonna be perfect. I ain't saying the child support system is perfect, but I'm saying most of these Negroes saying I don't see my kids, I don't believe they fought for that. I don't believe there's a judge in America that's going to deny a dad at least supervised visitation.
That's I don't know. That's sketch because it depends on what type of evidence the mother has. I mean, is she mad at this dude? Is she about to slander his name? Is she afraid of losing custody of her kid?
Man, it would take some extreme slandering with proof, DNA proof, for him to not get supervised visitation.
Yeah.
That's just not happening often. That ain't happening. Now, what about the stories when in some states they make you a father by default after the DNA test proves he ain't the father? That's jacked up. That definitely happens. That's messed up. Usually, from my understanding, those are the cases of the dudes who signed the birth certificate and had his doubts later and tried to do the DNA test. I just don't advise any man signing anything with a woman that he ain't married to without a test. That's crazy to me. Even in a marriage, you taking a chance, but it don't matter because whether you sign it or not in the marriage, they're gonna consider you the father. That's just how the laws are written up. You could take a DNA test within the confines of marriage and still have a fight. In marriage, they consider you the father.
Yeah,
Now,
you
if
take
you
a
ain't
DNA
married-
test while you married though, bro. It's about to be a fight.
Say that again.
You take a DNA test while you married though. I said it's about to be a fight.
There you go. Most women gonna find that offensive, which I don't know if they should. I'm offended that you find it offensive, but that's me thinking like a man. As a woman, they don't see it that way.
That's a fact.
So no, that's jacked up. I think that has to change. If I can prove this baby ain't mine, you do not have the right to make me pay for it. But the state just like we're gonna put somebody on the hook, and until you can find us the real daddy, you the man.
Right.
That's crazy, bro. Like they can't erase the name off a piece of paper. Like whiteout don't exist. Just wipe my name out, bro. Put another nigga name there. We good.
Man, I wish I had the clip, bro, about the guy who went through that. He was married. And I think while separated, his wife got pregnant before they could file for divorce. Do you know that they put him on the hook for this baby even after they were divorced? The baby was born after the divorce, bro, and they put him on the hook for this baby. And he had to fight and fight to get it removed while the real dad was begging to take the responsibility because he wanted to be in the kid life.
That slow down. That slow down as hell.
What it came down to is what happened. The mom didn't want the real dad. She wanted it to be the husband because it looked better for her. And she was manipulating the judge. And I think what happened is when she first, I don't know if she went for child support or whatever happened, the husband didn't come because he didn't even know about it. He's like, there's no way I'm this dad. You know what I mean? He didn't even know what was going on until after the fact. Jazz with this one. Maybe paternity test should be an automatic thing if you're not married, but that would create a lot of fatherless kids because they don't know who the daddy is. I really think that's why they're not going to consider that. I think the state would rather somebody be the daddy, even if he ain't the daddy. They know we would have a major crisis if this took place.
Well, another thing that would show up though is how crazy the system really is and how
Yeah,
promiscuous certain women could be. Because
yeah.
after you go through 5 tests, then it's like, yo,
Yeah. And
Talk
I
about
think that's a lot more common than we're aware of.
right. Yeah, I was about to say the same thing, Smitty. It would expose the actual system.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
That's why I stand for abolishing the child support system. Get rid of it altogether. Get rid of it. Get it out of here.
Well, why don't you stand that way about family court in general and getting rid of custody cases?
I stand there.
Okay.
I don't think no judge clearly sees who the better parent is. You're a new nigga in there. And then they deal with like what 10 or 15 people a day. They're not invested in there. They're reading off notes that somebody else wrote. All right, so I read that you do this and she does that and da 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 da, and they do that based off of what they read about you. They don't know a goddamn thing about you.
I feel that.
So who's the
Mel
judge
said
to say?
Mel said actually in Michigan law, dad's by default, even if you didn't sleep with the girl. I guess he's talking about in the confines of marriage, or is he talking about signing the birth certificate? Maybe.
If a woman says that you are the child's father in Michigan and you miss that DNA test, you're on child support. You're on child support automatically until you go and take that DNA test and prove that the child isn't yours.
Okay. That's intense, man. You know, because like I said, I obviously the solution is go take the test, but goddamn, that's intense, bro. Because you could move, you could have genuinely missed that letter.
That's a
Now
fact.
now you a dad overnight. Yeah. That's
And you
deep.
owe child support. And then you might not even know about it, bro. You could have a warrant out for your arrest for not paying child support in another state. And then one day you get pulled over and you like, this is nothing. And you give out your license and registration, and you're like, yo, you got a warrant for your arrest in Michigan. We're gonna have to ship you out. Tow this car. Like, yo, that junk is crazy. And I find it particularly crazy because they're just taking women's words. So if a dude doesn't show up, then automatically he's on child support. Imagine if a woman in Michigan found somebody who was too busy or who was hardly ever at home or had multiple homes, got pregnant by this nigga, or said that she got pregnant by that nigga, and his nigga, you know, she know he gonna miss the letter. He come back on child support.
And you know what, bro? You just touched on something else, because if I wanted to really troll, if I just was angry at you, I can just get together a whole bunch of women off Craigslist to go file child support cases against you.
That's a fact. You could do that.
I could send in 100 cases.
Mm-hmm. But they'll take it. They'll take on everyone. I'll be in that bitch getting my mouth swabbed every day for 100 days straight.
The thing about it with paternity tests, you can't just send a lawyer because you're too busy. You got to physically take it.
Yeah.
That's deep, man. I ain't never think about it like that. You could be real malicious with that kind of system, but you know.
Hey, bro, when they swipe your mouth, bro, they go in there with their little cotton swab. You like, you might want to keep that. I got enemies, and then and then they head out, bro.
I got real ops out here. Yeah. That's
oh boy.
Because, like I said, man, I guess it's just all in who you know, because it blows me knowing a man personally who won custody of his kid. He got a lawyer. He got a lawyer, but when lead attorney says, and we can go back to the clip, he talks about it really being, it have to be an extreme case. And I could see that maybe from the context of marriage, because it's like, well, you were married to her. What makes her dangerous now? It's hard to prove that. But then maybe we're going through a divorce, you can. Who knows? But in the sense of my boy, it was like she went on drugs. There was none of those extreme circumstances. It just was she up and took my kid away. Now what he had in his favor, this is where they lived. I paid all the bills. I took care of the home. She upped and left because she felt like it. And he was able to establish the reality that this is the environment the kids were raised in. They go to school here. You're snatching them out of their home just because of your feelings. And I don't really know the details of how he won. And I wish I had time. I tried to call him. I want to get him on here if he can maybe explain it better. But one thing I know about him, he went in there getting witty to the judge. He probably, knowing this guy, he got a lawyer, and he probably didn't say one word to that judge the whole case. So me
If you're
knowing him,
talking about who I think you're talking about,
yeah,
it's a good thing he didn't say anything to the judge because he about that action.
maybe. And so knowing that situation, it's just hard for me to like just buy these stories from these dudes, bro. That's like I can't even see my kid. I just don't believe that's happening on a large level.
I don't think the I can't see my kid thing is happening on on a large level to where like dudes are going to court and then the judge is just like, no, you can't see your kids. Get out of here. I don't think that that's happening. I think plenty of men are paying child support, and I think there's plenty of bitter baby mamas out here who don't want the dude to move on.
Yeah. And I also think that we as a collective need to educate our brothers more. I think a woman will take your child that you had out of wedlock, move out of state, and you say, man, my hands tied. She took my kid away. I can't be in his life no more. She won't let me. Not knowing the rights you have. Especially if y'all have a custody case. If y'all have a custody order, she cannot take them kids out of state without permission from the court first. Go file a contempt case. They will order her ass back until y'all go through this case and they determine that she has good reason to leave. And that's hard to take because they have to give her your right to be a parent. If you was taking that kid to school twice a week, she spent time with your family on the weekends. She got a monthly event she do with grandma. They can't just take her away from that when they feel like it. The court will intervene, but men don't know that. And I
I
think it's
think
just
men I
go
think
ahead.
men do know that though.
Oh,
Well, probably I don't know. I think men do know that. I think overall the thing is just bad decision making. It's who they have the kids with. Like if you're having a baby by a horrible woman, then it's like, what do you expect the outcome to be?
right. And that's the big thing. You're right. And even further, if you're having a baby with a horrible woman, why would you not get a custody agreement because things are good right now? Why would you wait until she decides to hate you? I would go ahead and get the court on my side immediately. I'm not going to leave when I can see my kids in your hands.
Exactly.
If you know you're dealing with that type of female, don't leave it in their hands.
And then you got to add the crazy ones in there too, because it don't matter what a judge say to some people. They're not going to listen to the judge. I mean, overall, what it probably end up happening by them not listening to the judge is they would lose custody, and
So,
more power to you for that. But then that's a slow process in itself as well.
yeah, that could still take years,
Yeah,
years of heartache. Just go TV, but see, so many dudes are not gonna do that as they keep feeling like they have some sense of honor
Not to be that vicious to
That
go
you
that
do this,
far.
boy. This is the
That's
comment of
not
the day.
vicious though.
That's but no. But what he's saying is that men feel that way. I'm gonna give you an example of what he's breaking down.
Okay.
Your wife in the crib right now, get heated, start getting into it. She back. You snatch her up on the wall. She's hollering, and you like, you better not ever hit me like that again. And the police come. Gotta go to jail. What you gonna do?
Oof. That's deep. I see what you're saying.
What you gonna do? We need it on the record.
If my wife hit me, the police show up,
Yeah, and say one of y'all got to go to jail.
she going to jail. She hit me first.
I don't believe that. I don't believe it, bro. And that's the issue with most men. Most of us don't want to see our lady take those L's. A lot of men are in domestic violence cases right now in jail because they didn't want the woman to go. Or
I ain't
because she
taking
the
that
one that
L.
take care of the kids.
Domestic violence means that you can no longer hold the firearm.
If
I
you
would
say you're
mute.
not taking care of that L, that's a great point. Woo! I ain't never think that deep. But you're right. And, but see, you saying that you ain't taking that L, I can believe you because you looked at this question and you said, "What makes that vicious?" But that's how men deal with the women, especially somebody you've been with. They like, yo, nah, I'm not doing that to her. I ain't about to do that. I ain't about to make her look bad. I ain't about to take her to court and try to take her kids and all. It ain't that deep. But then they'll
But
die on the inside. They'll be dying on the inside.
if she ruins your image, then you look less than to her anyway. It's better that she take the L. Because when you start losing shit and you can't do shit anymore, like that shit shows up on your record that you have a fucking domestic violence, and then you're just scrambling for a job at the time and you can't do customer service, which is the easiest thing to get hired for because you got a domestic violence on your shit. She not gonna
Correct.
stick around and be like, she ain't gonna stick around and be like, I got us. She gonna be like, nigga, you should have been smarter that night, type shit.
I'm gonna tell you, bro. I am inclined to agree with you. I don't think you're wrong for your stance. I just don't think it's the stance that most men are out here taking, unfortunately. And we don't hold women accountable on a real level when it comes to things like this. For the most part, we rescue them.
Yeah. Well, if she called the police and she involved them, then that's on her.
No, no,
I
no,
would
no, no.
never call.
I said the neighbors heard y'all arguing.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I'm still not taking the fall for that shit.
Okay.
I'm not taking any charges on that makes me appear less than and makes it harder for me to provide and then go back in the house with the woman who I just had a fight with.
I think that's a
That's not
great honorable stance. I think that's an honorable stance, bro. I don't think most men are taking that strong of a stance, unfortunately. I think that's why women getting away with this stuff. Because men have created this culture where they don't have to answer for it. And I think that's what Mel's getting at, especially with these court situations. Dudes don't want to have to go in there and rip. They just let them get away with it.
but you got to answer to it like on some facet. It's like, yeah, I slapped her.
Because then you look like the deadbeat. Yeah, then you look like the deadbeat. That ain't no better.
Yeah. I don't see how it's a win if you take the charge over her. I don't see it.
I think the win for me is she don't want to take care of the kids. Nah, that's short sighted. I mean, I think your stance is the best, Smitty. I do. I just I can understand the dilemma here. For me, just the terror of me imagining my lady in jail and what the hell she could be going through right now, and I ain't able to protect her.
Yeah.
He like, yeah, but that bitch shouldn't hit me.
That's a fact, bro.
That is too funny. Mel said, but Smitty, that's also gonna be hard to prove when you might have a cop that take the woman's side by default.
Hey, look, I know how to wrap myself around somebody without putting a bruise on them. You hit me. You hit me. I'm like, bro, the scratches is right here. Let her show
Right.
you a mark.
Right. The cop is definitely most likely gonna if she got marks on her even crying. Man, I think the cops are hip to the crying by now. I would hope. Don't send me a rookie over here that think tears mean something from him. Also, if they see a damaged wall inside the house, they taking you in. They not getting in the house, first of all. Well, I guess she could invite them in. But yeah, they not getting in the house. Unless y'all ain't on one accord and she trying to get you in trouble, listen, I'd have had a situation where a cop was at my door before. Cause this was way back in Philly, man. We had got into an argument. We was in them tight row houses. The neighbors could hear everything through the walls. Police came to the door, and she like, Phil, can you just come to the door so they know that they know everything's straight? I'm like, no. She said, can you come to the door so they don't come in here? I said, they're not coming in here because they don't have a right to. Close the door. Have a good day.
Yeah.
They can see you. They see ain't nothing wrong with you. What do I need to come speak to the police about? I didn't call for them.
In a like ideally, that's how you want it to work. Like, oh shit, the police outside. Get your shit together because don't neither one of us go to jail.
But see, that's where I said you got to be on one accord. Now, if she
Yeah.
was a victim and she's like, thank God you're here, I would have been in jail. That's different. But for her and me to both know, shoot, we ain't mean for this to happen.
Yeah.
I ain't got nothing to talk to y'all about. Arguments happen. That's not illegal.
Yeah. And for all of these, for the damaged walls, and all she got to do is cry. All I got to do is punch myself in the face hard enough, and I'll put a bruise on myself. What's good?
I ain't about that life, bro.
I'm just saying, if all else fails, like say I accidentally scratch her or some shit, and she got, see, this is what he did right here. Like, bro, I'm not going to jail for domestic violence, bro. That's a horrible charge to have on your record. Even if it's a misdemeanor domestic violence, bro.
You're right though. You a step away from a sex offender.
Yeah. They're like,
That's
hey, bro,
the
you
only
can't
thing
have guns.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's worse. If is a sex offender. After that, it's domestic violence.
I'll tell you what, Mel. You said they'll take us both. Now, in Michigan, and this is where I stay, I've seen plenty of women get arrested.
Yeah, some
While
states are
crying.
actually changing on that. Some states are actually changing on that, thankfully. But if
They do
Mel
the
lived
whole
probably
crying ordeal. What they look for is certain traits. Like if I'm intoxicated and I'm slurring my words and things of that nature, they're gonna be like, all right, he's probably drunk, he probably mishandled this and da 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 da. Let's take him in for 8 hours and let him sober up or something like that. But if she coming in hot and her words are slurred and she's drunk or high or something like that off her mind, then 9 times out of 10, when I say calm, cool, and collected, like, yo, she hit me first and I held her. Thank goodness you guys showed up.
yeah, but a lot of states though, Mel is right. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
I
that's a
thank God
fact.
that there are states that starting to change that.
That's just wild though. It's like a woman can just call the police on you, and the police are automatically going to be like, "What'd he do to you?"
Hey, bro, I don't care where I live. If somebody called the cops on me, I'm out. I'm out, bro. I'm not waiting to talk to them. I'm not gonna be there when they arrive. Y'all can have that conversation on your own.
Oh shit! I feel you on that, bro. You pulling up to the nearest corner store, huh?
Bro,
Gotcha.
out. Happy hour.
When you gonna come back home though?
Man, that's an amazing question. That's an amazing question.
I mean, given all the opposition to my stance, that seems like your option seems like the best option.
Real rap.
Oh, bro.
And it just depends on the dynamic of the relationship too. Because, well, let me get this comment. He said, "Hey, to speak to officers about these situations, wait until they tell you it happens more in the same-sex couples, especially lesbian couples." Yes, I actually heard that too. And that shouldn't even really be shocking, man. Two females trying to be romantic together. How is that not a conflict waiting to happen?
Yeah, bro. Like, just turn your TV on. You see that shit automatically.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I think it depends on the dynamic of the relationship. If it's a chick you with, y'all are together, like you trying to make. If it's a chick you're sick of and you just can't get away, you handle things differently in those two scenarios. It's all in the woman and how y'all deal with each other, man. I guess. For everybody. And I probably shouldn't take the L for anybody. I think my decision is more noble. I actually think what you said you would do is the more responsible thing. Because it's better for society that women be held accountable. It's a primordial need me to save myself the chance that something drastic happens when you're away from me and I couldn't be. And I don't know. Now, if I'm at a point where what you just did is the last straw and I'm ready to be done with you, then yeah, go ahead to jail. But if I know you coming back and we're going to be a family again, I probably don't.
Yeah.
But I never gave it the thought about what you said, Smitty, about how detrimental domestic violence is to your record. I actually didn't think that deep about it.
Yeah. Yeah, you get stripped of your weapons, and then when it's time, whenever something detrimental happens around you, and you got to pull out a firearm, if you shoot somebody, bro, you really got to get out of there.
Yeah, you really can't be a protector anymore now after that.
There you go. Not legally anyway.
It is better that she takes the L. You're right. It is better that she takes the L in that sense. I just don't always do what's best, though, unfortunately.
The domestic violence, bro, is like you said, that's, I mean, if you go to prison for it, then you really did some fucked up shit. But I mean, in misdemeanor shit, like that's, you're a charge away from being like considered like a sex offender. You just don't have to tell people. And even if you get misdemeanor domestic violence, that's stripping your guns away from you.
Yeah, that's horrible. What's an example of misdemeanor domestic violence, if you know?
Just word of mouth. Or her not showing up to court. Because what happens in domestic violence or whatever, if your neighbors call, police feel, depending on what state you're into, but police feel as though they have the right to come into your house and infringe it on your property. They're like, yo, we have to do a wellness check. Let us in to make sure everything is all right. And you could be like, nope, And then what they'll do, and what I've seen via videos that I've seen, is they'll go do whatever possible to try to get a warrant, or what the other person will do is crack the door to talk to the police and then try to close it. Then a police officer puts his foot in the door. Then they just bum rush in your house without you even inviting them
Yeah.
in. And then I think what is it called? Exigent circumstances. Like I think that's what it would be considered or whatever. But like, say your girl didn't even want to file against you. Like, I don't want to press any charges. The state would still pick it up.
Wow.
So it would still be Driscoll versus the state of Michigan. You know what I mean?
With no witnesses.
No witnesses.
Or I guess you said the neighbors could be the witness.
And all they can, I mean,
Yeah, that domestic violence stuff is a whole nother topic I would love to have.
yeah, that's a huge can of worms, bro, to open up. And I would never ever want that on my record, bro. I mean, your days of working with people are done. If you're not doing anything solo, then you can forget about it.
I never thought about it like that, man.
Well, I have a felony on my record. And as a person with a felony, I'm getting it set aside now. I'm finally getting that junk expunged. But bro, life ain't been easy for me. And I'm like, now that I'm getting this set aside and I'm getting all of my rights and stuff back again, I'm like, never again.
Yeah.
Never again. It's not, never again.
Value for it than I do.
Yeah, for sure.
It's easy to take your freedom for granted.
Yeah, that's a fact. Men are most definitely losing their rights in doggone domestic violence cases. Yeah, that's a fact.
It almost sounds like an agenda.
You would think so.
If we can
Because the
disarm
woman cannot press charges, bro, and the state will still pick it up. The state will still pick up the case. Bro, you cannot press charges against your girl. Say your girl stabbed you in the arm and you had an EMT come and you're like, what happened? I accidentally stabbed myself in the arm. The EMT can be like, yo, I think we got a domestic violence over here. Call in a sheriff or whatever, and the sheriff like, yo, let me talk to her real quick. So what happened to his arm? And arrest her, and you could be like, I don't want to press charges on her. State still pick it up. She's still going to jail.
Wow. Yeah, that's disturbing.
Yeah. It's some crazy things to think about.
Especially considering you could lose your gun rights over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with domestic violence, do you ever get your gun rights back? Or that's forever?
You can get those set aside. You can even get the misdemeanor one set aside, but you have to hold it on your record for so many years before you can get it expunged.
Wow.
And I think if it's like a misdemeanor or something like that, it might be 3 years or something of that nature, but you'll be 3 years without having a gun. And then it might even be longer than that, because even when you get it expunged, it doesn't necessarily go straight to like the FBI and your state police. So when you go buy a weapon again and they do your background check, they'll still deny you because it still takes time for it to process through the courts.
Boy.
So you wouldn't even know when you could buy a gun again. You would just have to get denied a bunch of times. Or what can end up happening is the background check don't come back. They still haven't fixed their records, but they sell you the gun anyway, and then the ATF is at your door. Yeah. So don't take that charge, man. Don't take domestic violence charges. Don't do it. Overall, it makes you weaker. Don't take domestic violence charges.
That's so good, man. That's so good. I think that's a good note to end on.
That's a fact.
Sheesh. That's some perspective right there, man. Let's get into them final thoughts.
Um, well, it's me, Smitty, the host of the show About Nothing. Um, After we finish here, matter of fact, while I'm talking, I'll pull this link up to my channel. Be sure to follow me at Show About Nothing. I've been kind of slow about putting videos out because my Final Cut was acting up, but I have 2 videos that I have edited and ready to go, and I should be dropping one tomorrow, and then I'll probably be dropping another one Friday. But once again, great conversation, Brother Driscoll. I enjoyed myself. Uh, and I can't wait for the next episode, bro.
Absolutely. As usual. Um, Not sure exactly when we're gonna be back, but whenever it is, you're gonna be. Please make sure y'all subscribe to my guy. Be on the lookout for his stuff, and you'll be back here shortly. So strangers to this place. And with that said, let me get my final thoughts. Amazing conversation. Um, Hopefully we peeled the onion a little more on the should the men pay all the bills topic. I know that's a hot topic that people like to challenge me on, but Smitty gave me some good pushback, caused me to really think deeper about certain aspects that I don't really dive into when I'm explaining my stances. So that was good to hear. If you missed that, definitely watch back the playback. Appreciate you, brother Mel, for coming through. Uh, as far as why men don't fight for custody, we touched on that well too, I believe. But as Mel said throughout the show, man, we just got to do it. We got to show up. We got to do what we can. You can't complain about what didn't work in our favor if we didn't give it the honest, necessary effort that it took to be successful. I think the best thing we can do is have our children within the context of marriage and make your marriage work, man. Do what you can. I know you only one part of the marriage, but as men, as the leaders, I believe we have a lot of weight to carry in regards to how well our marriage works out in the end. Our woman is a reflection of us and our leadership. And as Kel said earlier, are we addressing the things within us that need to be addressed to keep them there? That's not absolving women of their responsibility. We got our whole other channel, Family Values, where my wife is on their neck every day, letting women know their part. But we cannot forget, as men, we can't be leaders and not have a sense of responsibility in the success of our marriage as well. With that said, it's been an amazing show. If you have not already, please subscribe. We'll be back, if not this week, definitely the next one. If I didn't tell you already, I was featured on a Vice panel that recorded recently that will be back, or will be out, next Wednesday, February 22nd at 10 a.m. on Vice's YouTube channel. Make sure to hit me up with your feedback. If you're planning to do a reaction, you want me on the channel, you want to hear my thoughts, hit me up in my email. Let's connect. It's a very important topic to me as a dad. I believe it'd be very important to you as well, since most of our audience share in our values when it comes to family. So definitely tune in for that. I'm sure you will enjoy it. Thank you, Family Values, for supporting us in the chat. Be sure to subscribe to her channel as well. Connect with me on Instagram at Driscoll757. With that said, it's been a blessing to have you here once again. Until next time, grace to you. Have a blessed week.
If you can only look beyond the surface and see the purpose.
Look beyond the surface.
I never told the world that I was perfect, but God is working.
Come on.
They don't understand the life I live. They don't understand the life I live.
I said I'm not perfect.
They don't understand the life I live. They don't understand the life I live.
Understand that God's work.
They don't understand the life I live. They don't understand the life I live.
Still working.
They don't understand the life I live. They don't understand the life I live. They say old habits die hard, mind looking immortal. This Mortal Kombat, Reaper standing center the portal. As I'm fighting for my life, demons ain't being cordial. Every leap of faith I make, it's like I trip on a hurdle. I feel the devil so close that he inhaling my air. And the essence of his presence is oppression and fear. Once you push that fear aside, it should make you aware. The distraction is to stop you, cause your miracle's near. No need to push my life back if my doom was in reach. The blood of Jesus, what he chooses to feast. I feed some truth to that leech. Taste this victory and fill up your cup. Watch the inheritance just fill me back up. I never quit my assignment. Nah, bloodsucker, ain't quitting my assignment. No, no.